Welcome into the Saints Insider Podcast for Wednesday, October the 1st. It's a new month. Are the Saints turning over a new leaf?
Well, leaves don't change here. So.
I will say that that they just got through the toughest part of their schedule. They're 0-4, so I don't know. You could say whether they got through it or not, but they at least have that in the rear view now. I think it gets a lot easier from this point on. You know, even some of the tougher division games they have, with the 2 games against the Bucs, like they at least know who the Bucs are. I think this is when we're going to start to get a real evaluation of what Kellen Moore's got cooking for the Saints team. So I think a lot of us kind of expected that 0-4 start, even if some of us picked them to beat the 49ers because of Mac Jones.
The schedule's turning over a new leaf. We don't know if the Saints are yet.
Nicely done.
That is.
It sounds like a lead to a column, Rod.
Yeah. And I think it's a good time for us to take a step back and talk about this. That's what we're going to do today, is kind of take like a quarter pole, to use a horse racing term since Jeff's not here.
Yeah.
A quarter pole look at what the Saints are versus what we thought they would be, and what maybe they can be going forward. First, we should let you know that Saints Insider is sponsored by Bank Plus. From small business to big business, home loans to Bank Anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. New deposit customers can reach out today to learn about incredible rate specials. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. So there's a lot of ways we could do this. I'm just going to go through position by position, guys, and that starts us with the most obvious one here, and that's quarterback. Do we all agree, Matt, Spencer Rattler has been better than we thought he would be, or at least better than he was at the end of last year?
Yeah, I think he's shown meaningful improvement in a few areas, specifically cutting down on his number of turnovers. The first half, second half splits aren't nearly as drastic as they were last season. And, hey, it turns out having a supporting cast really helps the quarterback. Who knew?
Yeah, it does.
He was so injured last year that.
Now, having said that, Luke, there's still sort of this zero hanging out in his win column, and he's 0-4, and I think there's quite a bit of pressure on him on this homestand to show that he can lead a team to an NFL victory. You could say the same thing about the coaching staff, but the schedule does get lighter, as Rod said, and I think the specter of Tyler Shough kind of looking over his shoulder is just getting bigger.
Yeah. Look, I think that he has shown through 4 weeks this year that baseline, he belongs in the NFL. He should have a long career in the NFL. I just don't know if it's as a starting quarterback yet, right? And this is like the question the Saints have to answer right now, because they do have Tyler Shough waiting in the wings, who they took with the 40th overall pick this year. They are likely going to have a really good draft pick next year where they could potentially take a quarterback, even though right now the quarterback class looks kind of iffy.
Worse than we thought.
Worse than we thought, for sure. So, the Saints are in a position right now where they have to they have to understand what they have going into next year. Do they have somebody who can potentially be their future at the position? Like, I don't think Spencer Rattler's answered that yet. He's done some really nice things. Yeah, I was looking it up yesterday. He's number 4 in the NFL in rush EPA of all players. Like, he's been really good as a scrambler. He's been pretty good as a quarterback. He's operating the offense. He's hitting some, like a lot of the kind of easy completions that kind of eluded him at times last year, but he's missing some of the impact plays. And it's not just the downfield stuff. It is plays that you expect NFL quarterbacks to make, touchdown plays that he's missing. The one to Brandon Cooks last week was a perfect example. That is, by NFL standards, an open throw. Clean pocket. He had a window. Brandon Cooks was open in the end zone, and he threw it low and toward the sideline, and it ultimately was an incompletion because Brandon Cooks couldn't make like a really great catch. So that's happened a number of times this year. It happened later in the game. They needed a 3rd and 10, and Rashid Shaheed is wide open on a mesh, and he puts it like on his back shoulder, and Shaheed has to slow down, and he can't get to the sticks because the guy who was in coverage was able to catch up and tackle him. So it's just stuff like that where, if he could get that part of his game there, like, I think you could say, like, yeah, they can build around him. They can see him as a starting quarterback, but like that stuff has consistently been off through 4 weeks, and I think that's, I think it was, it's something that may just be who he is, and not just a couple mistakes here and there.
And quarterbacks don't magically get more accurate, right? Like not typically throughout their careers.
I mean, I think you can, but if you had told me before the season that Rattler would have, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, completed 67% of his passes, I would say, okay, Saints are probably 2-2 right now, maybe. I mean, I think he's done okay, but he has had those. I mean, some of the misses have been bad. He's also had some bad luck with some drops too. I don't know how many the Saints have this season, but
quite a few.
Juwan had his struggles. Chris Olave's had his struggles dropping passes. The pass to Kamara, I mean, that was the fumbling against the
49ers.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of on Rattler for where he put the ball. But overall, I think he's been decent and definitely better than last year. I mean, he cut down on the turnovers, and to me, that was my biggest concern going into the season.
I think the best way to put it is he's playing well enough to keep the Saints in these games, but not playing well enough to win them.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
interesting because we looked at him before the season as like, almost this gunslinger, like he's going to make some big plays, he's going to make some mistakes. And he's been almost the opposite of that, where he has made some plays, he's limited the mistakes, but what's missing, and you wrote about this last week, Luke, the big plays are not there, especially in the passing game.
They have 1 completion at 25-plus yards. And that was last in the NFL last week, and it's still obviously last in the NFL now because they didn't get another one this past week. So,
who's right ahead of them? Do you know? I'm wondering like with the next team.
Yeah, it was like
do
there
they
was a couple teams last week that had 2. I think the Jets had 2, a couple others, but the Bills had 8. Going into last week, and they're a team like the Saints that does a lot of those like short passes. Right? I think Josh Allen was averaging less air yards per attempt than Spencer Rattler going into last week's game, but when you're putting the ball on target and giving guys opportunities to run after the catch, that's where you can get those bigger plays.
See Shakir Khalil in the first quarter of Sunday's game.
There's a lot of little things that go into those bigger numbers. It's not just throwing the ball downfield, but it is. I do think, to your point, it is a sign of growth and development from him that he came into the league with this reputation as a gunslinger. We saw a lot of that last year. It led to a lot of negative plays, a bunch of interceptions, a lot of sacks, and he's cut back on that. He's obviously improved. It's just, can he take the next step from here? That's what I think we need to see if they're going to really continue to roll with him as a starting quarterback.
And for me, if Juwan makes that catch in the first game and they somehow win that game, I mean, we're probably looking at him a little different at 1-3 than we are at 0-4. I just think that 0-4 just kind of pops out at you.
I
sure.
think that's even the 0-10, to be honest.
Especially when you
right,
include last season.
I know Kellen Moore said he's not judging him based on last season. It's just at some point, that record, like even when he was 0-8 in Seattle, that fan had a sign that said 0-8 career quarterback. Like I wonder if he's checking social media much these days, because I feel like whenever I go on there, I just see, Spencer Rattler's record. It's like I think it's kind of somewhat unfair, but at the same time, the results driven business.
Yeah.
So that leads to the question of, we all said before the season various points we thought that it would be Shough, and Matt, one of your bold predictions was week 3. That one's gone already. A lot of us said week 5, and we haven't talked to Kellen Moore. I guess we don't know for sure, but it doesn't look like it's going to be this week. When do you turn to Shough? How many losses does it take? Or let's say Spencer Rattler starts winning a few games here and there. At some point, you want to see what you've got in Tyler anyway. So what do you think the timing of that is?
To me, if they lose these next 2 games, regardless of how he does, I mean, I think you might have to make a switch. If you can't beat the Giants and the Patriots at home, I think you maybe do it then. But I mean, even then, I think he still played well enough that he keeps the job. I don't know if he's done anything to make me say, no, we got to, that makes him say they got to make a change. But so yeah, I think these next 2 games are very important for him. I think he needs to win one.
I agree with you mostly. Like, I think if they lose these next 2 games, like they gotta make a switch.
That part's obvious.
Even if he's playing decent, and they're not winning games, like you gotta see what the other guy has. I think, in my opinion. But the hard part is, like, they really do have to take a look at Shough. Like, they have to see what they got, because they might be in the quarterback market next year. And if you just go through this season where he's either only getting run in garbage minutes, or he's only getting a couple starts where it's not really a big enough sample size, then it's just like, well, what were you doing?
Right.
Why'd you use a second-round pick on a quarterback? There's no So they're almost boxed into this position where they have to see what he looks like. Because if they don't, then it's just like a complete wasted pick if they are in the quarterback market next year.
And you can't wait till the last 4 games of the season to do it. Like if you're eliminated and when the games don't mean nothing and the team may have quit. I mean, you got to put them in some games when you're still kind of fighting for something. So,
I mean, if they only would have done that with Rattler last year, like we'd still be talking about it now. Like, what do they have in him?
Right.
You know, because that was not even though he went 0-6 as a starter, like the circumstances were awful. So you don't like he's a completely different player now than he was last year. And if you only get like 4 games of Shough, you have really no idea what he is going into next year. It's just they're in a difficult situation with a quarterback who's playing fairly well, not winning games, and you know a high draft pick behind him.
Yeah, part of it also depends on how Shough is developing behind the scenes. I mean, we haven't seen him since outside those 3 snaps in the Seattle game. We haven't really seen him operate any of the offense, at least in practice. So, because we're not allowed to watch it, they have him running scout team and stuff. But I would make the switch next week if they lose this week. I wouldn't even wait until I want to wait until after the Patriots game. I think there's maybe some benefit to starting him at home.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Pack the stadium. To have people turn out for that. And then also just, I think the Patriots are probably an easier matchup than the Bears and let him get his feet wet. Now, I don't think that necessarily prevents coaching staffs. I mean, Jackson Dart started against the Chargers. Dylan Gabriel starting against the Vikings. Like, those are not easy assignments for your rookie quarterback. But at the same time, give him an easier matchup. But I'm sure there's some Saints fans that saying Dennis Allen is the easier matchup. But I don't know. I would lean toward the home matchup rather than starting it against the Bears on the road.
Yeah, it is interesting, like you said, Luke. I think if they lose these 2 games, that makes it pretty obvious. Like for one thing, you're basically out of any hope of contention at that point. You're 0-6. You're not going anywhere. You might as well go see what you've got. And for another thing, Rattler would be 0-12, and like the 2 of the easier games on the schedule would be over. I think it's obvious. I think the harder part is they split these games. They win the Giants game. Rattler's obviously playing better. That becomes a more delicate situation. Maybe you wait longer.
Right. That's the really difficult one.
Yeah.
Because they have to see Shough. But Rattler's playing well. Like I mean, to this point, like I think Matt, you wrote about it last week. Like there haven't even really been any legitimate questions to Kellen Moore about like, do you make a change? And that's because of how well Rattler's playing. But like, again, they have to see it.
Yeah, Fletcher asked him about it last week. So that counts to me. But it was the first one. It wasn't very. He was just doing his due diligence. But we're at that point of the season now where, like, you kind of have to start checking in on it just to cover your bases because even though Rattler hasn't played horribly, it's just what direction do the Saints want to go in? How do they see their season? Like, those are all relevant as it relates to this discussion.
It's a strange situation. He's played better, but big picture, at some point, he's probably going to get replaced. So, all right, let's move on. We're going to go through the other positions, obviously, a little faster than that one. Running backs. I think the big 2-hour podcast. I think the big one here, Rod, is that, to me, is the emergence of Kendre Miller as the number 2 back.
Yeah, he's done kind of what we expected him to do when the Saints, used the early draft pick to get him 2 years ago. I kind of thought this was going to be a good year for him. I thought this was going to be like a reset, time for him to reset. He moved away from Dennis Allen, who they obviously had some issues and they clashed. And I think this was like a really good fresh start for him. And we're starting to see the things that we thought we would see out of him. I mean, he's averaging close to 5 yards a carry, and I think it's 4.9 or something like that. So he's running well, running hard, doing stuff on kickoff returns as well. So he's definitely been a big addition to this team. And now Alvin Kamara kind of has somebody who can, relieve him a little bit.
There was a chance that Kendre Miller would have gotten the bust label if he didn't break out this year. I mean, the clock was ticking on this guy.
Absolutely. I mean, Rod said it. This is the player we expected to see 2 years ago. We've seen almost nothing of it for 2 years. We all have seen the glimpses of it, the bursts, the acceleration, the balance. I think he's a better pass catcher than he's been able to show so far in his career. But he never put it together. He was constantly hurt, and it's really cool to finally see it come to fruition. Now he's got to stay healthy. You know, I think that still remains to be seen whether he can do that over the course of a 17-game season. But like, he's been excellent as a complement to Alvin Kamara, and I think that is an important thing to bring up. Like they complement each other really well, even though they're kind of similar in body type. Their styles a lot different. So I really like what they have in the running game right now. It hasn't been like consistent week to week, and some of that is because of the games they've been in. But I do think that, you know, between what the offensive line's doing as a blocking unit and what these running backs are doing with the ball in their hands, I think has looked really good.
And Alvin Kamara, Matt, like he hit that magic 30 number in the offseason, but he still appears to me to be an above average starting running back in this league.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there are reasons why other fan bases want to trade for Alvin Kamara. It's because he's still producing. Like, I don't think the Saints are going to trade him. Maybe that conversation becomes more relevant if these losses continue to pile up. But right now, I've been really impressed with the way that these guys have been able to make, like, yards after contact. The offensive line, I think, has even been maybe a little disappointing in their run blocking. It was better last week, but Next Gen had that stat of the Saints had the third most rushing yards after contact, like after initial contact, since they started tracking. What was it, 119?
No, it was 165 of their 189 yards.
Yes. Okay, it was even more than
That's crazy.
I said. And so I just think these running backs are doing a really nice job of, even if they aren't being used in favorable situations or favorable run blocking, that they're still creating something out of nothing. And I think it's a good sign that you have two good backs if they're able to do that.
And I think the quarterback mobility is helping them out too. Last week we saw them use an option, like a old school, like college football, high school football option play on third down, and Spencer Rattler ended up keeping it. But you know, the read options and the RPOs and the quarterback threat as a run, I think opens up lanes for the running backs.
Yeah,
And it helped. I mean, they got the penalties down last week, so the offense was in good position, so they were able to kind of be more committed to it than those first three games when they were always playing behind the chains and you couldn't just run the ball. So I think that helped them too.
Yeah. Okay, wide receivers and tight ends. We'll throw tight ends in here too. This is an interesting one for me. I don't know who, Luke, you want to start? Like, Chris Olave is getting some outside praise, and then it feels like on the inside in the Saints facility and their fan base, you're looking at him like, he's underperformed. And, we can start there with him.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of Olave. I think they're doing a good job feeding him targets. Just pulling it up right here. He has 43 targets this year. Obviously, it's about 11 per game, right? That is what you want. But he's turned those 43 targets into 26 catches for 185 yards, 7.1 yards per reception. A 48% success rate, which is lower than Juwan Johnson's, lower than Brandon Cooks. Like they're trying to feed him the ball, but like it hasn't been wildly successful so far. And obviously some of that is on Rattler. You know, there was the big post touchdown that they missed. That would have been a 23-yard touchdown, something like that, 30-yard touchdown, something along those lines. There's been some completable passes that they have not connected on, but there's also been like drops. There's been a lot of like catch the ball and get down right away when there's yak opportunity. He needs, in my opinion, needs to do more. You know, they're counting on him to be a number one, and I don't know if he's ever going to be a number one. Like he might just be like kind of like Devontae Smith, like a really really good number two. But like if they're asking him to be the one in this offense, I think he needs to do more. And part of that's on the quarterback, part of it's on the play caller, but I think I need to see more out of Olave.
He's not having the type of bounce back season that he was hoping to have. You know, he was one of the rare players to admit entering the season was like, I haven't earned a contract extension yet. Like those talks probably won't come right now. And so I think it's a big year for him we've seen receivers get paid $30 million plus. Like for him to be in that group, he's going to have to play a little bit better than he has been. And I just think the thing that stands out with him is kind of the lack of contested catches. And that was always kind of the knock on him with his size being what it is. But I just don't see the necessarily like fight from him on some of these balls. And you showed me the one play of after the go watch the play after Rattler misses Olave on that post in the San Francisco in the San Francisco game. Go watch Olave's route on the next play. It looks like Spencer's behind him a little bit, but it's not. I think it's more on the route itself. Olave just looks like very discouraged from the previous play and it let it linger. And that happens sometimes, but I just think he needs to be a little bit more consistent of a player. But I could say the same thing about the rest of this room. They've just not had like that true breakout star yet, except maybe Juwan, but he's had some pretty big moments where he's disappointed at least the fans a bit too.
Yeah, these other guys, Rod, like Rashid Shaheed is not the deep threat that he was last year. At least he hasn't been thus far, and that's missing. I think Juwan Johnson's been good. Outside of that, it's been hit or miss. Like we've seen Brandon Cooks get a couple of opportunities. We saw Devon Vele catch a touchdown pass, but it feels shallow.
Yeah, I mean, Vele hadn't really shown us any of the things that we thought we would see when they brought him in here. Rashid, who had the one explosive play?
Sheed.
That was Sheed.
Yeah,
Okay,
39.
First play, from scrimmage against San Francisco.
Yeah.
Second play maybe. It was the first series.
Yeah, they took a shot on play action.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to see more of that. And they've tried to give him the ball, like doing some running stuff, and even that hadn't. I mean, you can see his speed on those, obviously, but even those plays haven't really broken for anything long like you would expect. So, yeah, he hasn't been what we thought. And this is a group that, I thought they were going to be pretty good coming into the season, and they just haven't really lived up to what I was thinking.
And I wonder how much this is connected to the Rattler conversation. Like, is he not throwing these guys open enough? Are they not getting open enough? Like, these problems are connected in my eyes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, offensive line, to wrap things up on the offense. We should probably have Norman up here for this discussion. But I think the big story on the O-line is just that they haven't all been out there. I mean, it's literally been the first half in Buffalo. You had all 5 starters out there healthy, and then Cesar Ruiz gets hurt at the end. He's going to miss significant chunk of time here. And so we're back at just sort of having fill-ins.
Yeah. Once again, I feel like we've told this story every year, which is like probably true around the entire offensive line. We're in such a bubble here or around the entire league that we just see what's going on with the Saints and the trends that happen with the Saints. I'm sure a lot of teams deal with guys missing time, but man, it was supposed to be what they were built on. This foundation of the offensive line, and we just haven't gotten to see it, except for 30 minutes last week.
Yeah.
So, I think they've been kind of hit or miss, but we don't really know what they can be if they're not all on the field together. Fuaga's been fine. He's been dealing with the injuries. It's been affecting his play. I think Banks has played really well at times, but he's also had his share of rookie struggles. Penning made his debut last week. I thought he made some really good plays. I thought he was okay in pass pro, but he got beat a couple times as a run blocker. And then McCoy, I think it's just really, you can count on him to be solid. I think we know what he is at this point, but it's just you'd really like to see what this starting 5 looks like together, and we just haven't seen it.
And we're not going to see it for a few more weeks with Caesar.
And who knows if somebody else is hurt by then. I mean, the way it goes. I don't know. I think Kelvin Banks is a bright spot in my eyes. A little bit of inconsistency, but I think overall you look at that pick and you're excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think they hit a home run with that one, and stabilizing those 2 tackle positions is something that's really big. And the last 2 years they've done that, so I think they should be good there in the future. But if they stay healthy, if everybody stays healthy, which
famous last words here, but I kind of think the depth is better than at least it was last year. I mean, that was a very low bar, but Torres Simpkins, there's an argument to be made that even if Dylan Radins is healthy this week, that maybe Simpkins should be the right guard and see what you have in him. And then Radins did a nice job filling in for Penning. Given how dire their swing tackle position looked in training camp, I think acquiring Awesome Richards is kind of a nice find. It didn't really cost much, so I feel like the depth, even though there are some injuries, it's not dire enough to where last season that just completely tanked the year I think they're getting by right now, which is a huge upgrade given what it was.
Yeah, it was the Vikings. They lost their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, and like the guy who filled in for him gave up like 6 sacks.
I mean, just look at the Chargers. They've lost their last two. They're starting tackles, and they've given up 50 pressures the last 2 weeks. That's insane.
Against the Giants, who are coming to town on Sunday, by the way.
Giants do have a very good front, yes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's even, like, I think that's an important point, Matt, because that's even with pretty significant injuries to that depth. And they lost a couple of guys for the season before the year even started, and then, now Dylan Radins is out. And so I think the fact that they're kind of holding it together despite the injuries is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think they've upgraded their depth through injuries, which is, I think if they had stuck with the guys that they had planned to, it wouldn't be as good as it is now.
Yeah, maybe not. Okay, we are going to take a break. Jeff Duncan wants to be part of the show. He's calling. He knows we're recording. He's calling me. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to find out. While
Maybe
we take
he
a break.
assumed
And
we finished by now.
we will be back right after this on the Saints Insider.
Banking has come to a crossroads. Do you want to bank with an actual bank, with actual people? One that you can walk into? Or drive through, get real help from a real person? Or do you want a bank that lives inside your phone? A digital bank that gives you control of your money anywhere, anytime. Well, why not both? Bank Plus, a partner in your corner, wherever that may be.
Did they ask you to do the commercial too?
Yeah, but they just gave me one line.
Bet like a Caesar. Like, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna tell them how Caesar's Sportsbook is just so easy to use that you can watch and bet thousands of sports events, even some NFL games.
They'll probably show us betting on our favourite players and teams at all the Vegas hotspots too.
Like, we have time for that montage.
I told him I couldn't do it.
They couldn't afford me.
Welcome back to the Saints Insider. There was some breaking news. Jeff Duncan is actually the reason he's not here. Number one, New Orleans is getting the college football national championship game in 2 years. They announced that today.
Which means LSU is going to win it that year.
Yeah, that's like the tradition. In New Orleans, LSU is in the game. They'll either win it or they'll play in it and not cross midfield.
Oh,
It's one or the other.
come on, man.
Had to take that shot. And then the other news is that the Saints and the state are very close on a new lease agreement for the Superdome, which obviously keeps the Saints in New Orleans for an extended period of time. So good news there. Okay, moving on with our quarter pole reset here, if you will, looking at some of the defensive spots. Let's go to the D-line. Matt, I have a hard time judging this group. Per PFF, they're dead last in the NFL in pressure rate, but they're, I think, tied 8th or something with 11 sacks.
7th, I think. Yeah.
7th, yeah. And the run stop has been better than it was last year. Still not great. I don't know. Improved or not improved in your eyes?
I would go. It's about the run defense has definitely improved, but everything else is about the same, or honestly worse, because Chase Young hasn't played. I think that's the big mark on this group, is just that you signed him to a 3-year deal, $51 million, and now we're going on week 5, even unsure if he's going to play this week. We'll have to see if he's out at practice, and I don't know. It's a real big damper to that group, because I think individually guys like Cam Jordan's had a nice season. Like, that's a fun storyline. Carl Granderson, I think, continues to make an impact with just his hustle. I don't think he's necessarily winning off the edge at a huge rate, but he's been in position to make plays. But it's just a group that really lacks kind of that impact player, and even though they're getting sacks, they're not getting pressures. It's the opposite of what happened last season. They got pressures, weren't converting into sacks, but they're just like, if they don't draft a quarterback next year, edge rusher is like the clear need for them.
Yeah, I think Granderson has 4.5 sacks, which is tied for 3rd in the NFL. And he has 9 pressures.
And like 2 of those sacks are like quarterbacks ran out of bounds at 0
He was the
yards.
closest guy
and
to
he was
him.
the closest guy.
Or he was like cleaning up somebody else. That feels like a bit of a mirage to me. Cam, I think, is kind of in the same boat. Although like his sacks, I think, have been like more clear, like he wins on the play. But like generally, like they have not gotten near enough pressure on the quarterback on a down-to-down basis, which is why opposing quarterbacks have a 117 passer rating against them, just 3rd highest in the NFL. Like I think that needs to be better. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more blitzing from Brandon Staley. I don't think DeMario's gotten a sack this year. If he does, it's like a half a sack. I think Alontae Taylor only has the one from week 1, which is surprising. Like I thought we'd see a little bit more creativity from the blitz perspective from Brandon Staley, and maybe he's just holding on to some stuff for later in the year. I don't know, but I think that the front has played okay.
Yeah, I would say okay. I do think they're a little better than last year, which I don't know if that's saying a whole lot, but I think they've been okay.
Does the addition of Chase Young make a difference whenever it happens? I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. They would have put him on IR.
Don't ask me that question.
Ask Rod. How many sacks?
I asked you intentionally, man.
Don't ask me
Come on,
my
Rod.
opinion on our own show.
I mean, I think he definitely
Let's say he plays 13 games. How many sacks?
13 games. I'm gonna go 6.
I thought you were about to say 16.
Oh, 6.
So I was gonna 16.
But I think more than just the number of sacks he gets is does he open up opportunities for other guys because he's the one who can win those matchups.
Well, minor pushback. They need him to get sacks. Like
Also true.
you're right. You're right. But they're paying him. Look, $17 million is not like it sounds like a lot. It's not a lot for an edge player. Like there's edge players making a lot more than that, like twice as much as that. But they do need him to get sacks. Like they can't have him be the player he has been over the course of his career, with the exception of his rookie year. Yeah. Like they need him to be impacting the passer to get him down because like pressure is good. Like you need pressure to affect a lot of other things in the game, but like those sacks are huge. I mean, they got 3 of them last week against the Bills, and those were big plays. They kept them in the game. Like getting the quarterback off his spot is one thing. Bringing him down for a loss and setting him behind the sticks is a complete different thing. They need Chase to be that guy for them.
Though I do think if they do generate more consistent pressure, that'll help with the passer rating being so high. That I think teams are completing 70% of their passes, somewhere in that range, against these guys right now, and that'll go down if the secondary has to less time to hold up because it's been very comfortable for quarterbacks in the pocket for the most part.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, moving on to linebackers. Am I wrong? I mean, before the season, this was Demario Davis, Pete Werner, they're fine. Plug them in, play. Am I wrong in saying this is kind of sneakily becoming a problem area?
I mean, I just think they are who they have been. DeMario had a really, really good game in week 1, and I think less so in the following weeks. But he's still a really good player. Like, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's going to be their guy in the middle of the field as long as he's healthy this year. But Pete has just kind of been who he is. Like, he's somebody who's going to, I've said it a lot on the show, he's going to be where he's supposed to be, and he's going to make the necessary play more often than not. But
unless the necessary play is an interception right in his breadbasket.
Right. That's the sort of stuff that's eluded him.
Yeah.
It's sacks, interceptions, fumbles, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. Like it's not the sort of stuff he's going to give you. And the one that I mean, literally hit him right in the. To be fair to Pete, it was a deflected pass, so it's it's coming at him at a different angle than what he was expecting when the ball was first released. But it's still a play he's got to make. And it's still, Josh Allen is a league MVP. He's one of the best players in football, but he made him look really foolish on that 27-yard scramble that really put Buffalo ahead, and to a point where the Saints were going to have a really, really hard time to catch up. They've been putting Isaiah Stelbert in the game. Maybe we'll see some Danny Stutzman run. I don't think Pete's spot is definitely completely zipped up. I think they might play some youthful guys in that position there.
This is where I wish if I could give truth serum to a position on the roster, this is the area I would do it, because if you just go by PFF grades alone, Pete Werner is one of the worst linebackers in football. When watching him, I don't think he is. I think he's had an okay start to the season. I don't know how many of the catches behind him are necessarily on him, without knowing the responsibilities and how far he's supposed to drop, etc. But I want to know what the coaches really think about the season that he's having, because if you ask, they'll say, oh, yeah, he's great. But,
He's doing awesome.
He's certainly done a good job for us.
Like they say that about every player. So it's like I really kind of want to know what they think about Pete Werner specifically because it seems to be like just a bit of a contrast there.
The answer is going to be in what Luke said. Do we see more Stutzman? Do we see more Stallbird? I mean, that's the way you get.
Yeah, I mean, I think it spoke volumes when they took Pete off the field on a third down and put Stallbird in there because Stallbird has some juice as a pass rusher. It's like somebody who can give you the impact plays.
Okay, moving on to the secondary, we'll start with the corners. Rod, to me, this more than anywhere else in the roster is where the Saints are kind of just throwing the young guys out there and saying, let's see what you got, sink or swim, because
Sink or swim. Sink or swim.
Alontae Taylor's now the veteran of this group.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, we raved about Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's been, okay, but he's had some tough moments at times. So, yeah. It's
okay is generous.
Yeah, I mean, But, I mean, he was the guy that we thought was going to be like, okay, we're about to see.
Yeah.
He looked awesome in training camp.
He was like a training camp, probably MVP, especially at least on defense.
Right.
I mean, he was the guy. And he just hadn't really been that. And so I think, we've already seen some Quincy Riley coming in, and I think we're going to see more of that as the season progresses. I just think they're going to give some of these younger guys an opportunity. And I'm saying younger guys, and Kool-Aid's one of the younger guys. So.
Yeah, I mean they're all young, right? Like Ugo Amadi's snaps were way down. They were down, I think, under 20% on Sunday, and we talked about him.
Ike Yadam.
I'm sorry, Ike Yadam.
I was like, Ugo played 20%. When?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And Ike Yadam is the guy. He's tied to the compensatory draft pick for the Saints too, and so we kind of predicted that he's not going to see snaps as the season goes on because the Saints aren't going to play this guy. No offense to Ike, but like he's not good enough to give up a draft pick for in that way, especially when you have these young guys you want to see.
Yeah, Quincy Riley, I think has played fairly well when he's been thrown in there. I looked it up the other day. He's only been targeted once in coverage in his kind of limited playing time. He gave up it was like an 11-yard catch, but it was like one of those like first and second and long or third and long plays where they needed 20 yards, and he was there right when the ball was caught. He obviously had the forced fumble in his in the previous week against Seattle. So like I think we're going to see a lot more of him. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in the starting lineup this week. And I don't know, are we talking safeties right now?
Safeties is a separate.
Okay, we'll go into that. But I really think we're going to see a lot more Quincy Riley and see what they have in him because he's got some like he's going to give up his share of plays. Like I don't think there's any doubt about that. But he's also going to maybe make some impact plays for them that have kind of frankly been missing so far. So, and honestly, I'm also curious to see if they make any sort of changes to how they are approaching just coverages in general because, like Matt was saying, they're giving up a lot of easy completions, which is kind of by design. Like they want to make teams do what the Saints have been having to do, and which is do those like 10, 15 play drives down the field. Unfortunately for the Saints, it's just been way too easy for opposing offenses because they haven't gotten any pressure. Coverage is a little soft. They're not wanting to give up any big plays. So I'm curious to see if they switch that up a little bit just here and there to try to make things a little bit more difficult for opposing passers.
If I had to ask you guys what's been the biggest disappointment so far this season, what would you...
On the whole team?
Yeah, just like across the roster or like it doesn't have to be a player or it can be a group, like whatever.
Special teams.
Special teams and penalties for me, yeah.
I think receiver to me has been the most disappointing. Like receiver, I think they have legitimate like star power there, and it's just completely lack punch.
I think Kool-Aid McKinstry's lack of like clear progress would be mine, just given how he looked in training camp. The Seattle game, everyone didn't play well, but God, he was like that was a very rough performance from him. I need to go back and watch Buffalo closer for his performance, but it didn't necessarily strike me how he's played. He just hasn't taken that leap that I thought he was going to, and so that's disappointing to see because I feel like even on some of his coverages, he's been close. He just hasn't been that physical, disruptive corner that I thought he was coming out of college. That's how he played at Alabama, and I don't know. He just hasn't taken that step, and so I think he's been like the clear weak link of that group, even though Adams already been benched. Like it's
It's been kind of rough. You guys mentioned the passer rating. I mean, has been the completion percentage really high for the opposition. We'll talk quickly about safeties. Obviously, Julian Blackmon goes out in the first game of the season. That's a blow. But the silver lining there is that we got to see Jonas Anker a lot earlier than we would have, and Jonas Anker looks like a player.
Yeah. There was look. He had the missed tackle early. It led to the touchdown on the Khalil Shakir touchdown. He kind of glossed over that a little bit, and Shakir spun out of a DeMario tackle, and he kind of spun out at a weird angle. He wasn't ready for it. He still probably needs to make the play, and he'd probably be the first to tell you that. But then he made this great pass breakup on a downfield pass to Dalton Kincaid, and on the next play covered a ton of ground to pick off Josh Allen. And then he made another pass breakup later in the game. And we've seen his ability to impact the game as a tackler. Somebody who just kind of has a nose for the football. We saw it probably more in the preseason than we have in the regular season, but I think that's still there. But if he can also give you some of that element of like a downfield safety who uses his speed to go make plays and his athletic ability, I think you like what you see there. And I think Justin Reed's been pretty solid. I think he's been a good addition to the team. Yeah, so I feel good about the safeties.
I think Justin Reed's been really important from like a leadership perspective of, all right, the Seattle game happened. What now? He's been very clear in his answers of like, this team needs to perform better. That it falls on the players. I've just been impressed with kind of his poise, and I think you kind of need that, especially in a challenging season. And he has that Super Bowl experience of being on a contender. Like, he's not saying like, "Oh my God, I was on team so much better now, and now I'm one of the worst ones." He's kind of taking it and trying to help guys, and I think that's a positive attitude to have.
Yeah. For me, Sanker's just a guy that, when we look back to this rookie class years from now, I think he could end up being the best guy in this class. Obviously, Kevin Banks probably has something to do with that, and we haven't seen enough of Tyler. We haven't seen Tyler Shough yet, but I think Sanker has a chance to be like the guy in this class that we're talking about.
And he was really the main pick from that Marshawn Lattimore haul too. It was him, Quincy Riley, and Devin Neal. So we haven't really seen much of Devin Neal, but maybe Quincy Riley and Jonas Anker can give them like legitimate starter reps. I think that's a pretty clear win for that trade.
Sanker is having a better season than Marshawn.
I was going to say,
Lattimore.
especially given what Lattimore's doing in Washington. They got rid of him at the right time. So, okay, special teams real quick. Rod, I guess my question on special teams is this a lasting issue, or do you think it's just sort of been some fits and starts and near misses and communication mistakes and those things?
I don't know. I think after the first two games, I was saying, okay, Blake Gruper, he'll fix his issues and he'll be fine. And he made his 2 kicks last week. But when you look back at, obviously, the Seattle game was a disaster. But even last week, Nephi runs into the roughing the punter. So there's been a lot of things that 3 of the 4 penalties were on special teams last week. So I think there is some stuff that concerns me about that unit. I don't know if it's something that I think it's something that could linger on all season long. I'm not talking about groupies misses, but all the other stuff is what I'm more concerned about. Not kicking off into the landing zone twice. That's putting the team on the 40-yard line. Those things kill you.
And that's kind of, special teams are fickle anyway, but like he's missed the landing zone by a yard each time. He hasn't missed the kicks badly. The roughing the punter, that's a situation in the game where I'm saying go try to block it. Don't hurt the guy, obviously, but if you happen to get a roughing, we're okay with it because we're probably losing if we don't block this kick anyway. I don't know. I tend to see from a 40,000-foot view, guys, like this is maybe not as much of an issue going forward as it has been.
I don't know.
That's just me.
I don't know.
We've just seen so many of them, man. That's why I'm.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's been so consistent. I still think Groupie's going to turn out just fine. I think that was a hiccup that lasted a lot longer than you expect hiccups to last, but I think by the end of the season it's not going to be an issue we're talking about. The other stuff, though, I don't know. It hasn't looked clean like this whole year. I think they had one big punt return from Rashid Shaheed, and other than that, the return game hasn't done a whole lot. The coverage units have been really shaky. They've had a lot of penalties. It's just a little concerned about it. And this is somewhere where, again, we talk about the margins for this team. They're extremely thin. Like, they need to be winning on special teams. Like, that's a phase. They need to be winning if they're going to be competitive. And it's something they really excelled at for a lot of years under Darren Rizzi. It's just, you can see the difference in it right now. I'm not confident enough in that unit to say they're going to get a lot better over the course of the season.
For me, the block punt was to me, that was like the biggest concern, because I mean, the guy was just wide open.
Yeah, completely unblocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you guys said. I would say the silver lining is at least Kai Kroger had a bounce back game against Buffalo. I thought his punting was a lot better, but that was really about it. I mean, it's been a disappointment for sure.
Okay, we'll wrap things up by a quick look. I put coaching staff on here, but we can just make this more of an overall what you think through the first 4 games. Like, I don't know if we want to do letter grades. I'm kind of at the point where this is like 50th percentile of my expectations. I mean, it's been right in the middle, where you could have said before the season, like, they're going to go 0-4 because the schedule's difficult, but if things go well, maybe they pick a game off. I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about it? Like, is this just an average C through the first 4 weeks?
I mean, I'd probably go a little higher, just because these are 4 of the tougher teams they're going to face this year probably, and they've been competitive in 3 of them, and one of them was just like, I think just like a complete wash. Like, you go down 21-0 after like 7 minutes of game time. It's just like nothing you do matters after that. Mm-hmm. So I would probably go like a B. I think they clearly have him ready to go. I think we've seen Kellen Moore get a lot more out of Spencer Rattler than we thought. Defense, I think, still needs to take a step forward under Brandon Staley. They're not as good as I thought they would be there. So I don't know. It's been solid. I think the most important thing out of this year is for Moore and his staff to continue having these guys clearly ready to play in the way they were for 3 out of those first 4 games. And that'll kind of start leading to some wins and some just like kind of positive long-term outlook for this year, or for this team.
Yeah, I would say about a C, but I was still impressed. Like, that Buffalo game, the way that Kellen got his players to respond, like, that matters. And I was pretty impressed by it. I was impressed by his willingness to shift the game plan and go run heavy after being such a shotgun-heavy team the first few weeks. Like, Moore has shown some encouraging signs that, if this year is going to be about judging him, I think, like, that type of stuff matters in the long term. And he's had some hiccups, which is probably why it's a C, but nothing to, like, say I'm out long term quite yet.
Yeah, I'm going with the C for sure as well. And the penalties obviously was a big concern for me, because that's the one thing that I think that is on coaching, but they fixed it this week, which is I want to see if that can continue though. But so I'll give them a C.
I will say I think these next 2 games are hugely important for. We'll do this again like during the bye week, which I think is week 10, so they'll have played 9 of their 17 games. And we'll see where the grade goes. But I think these next 2 weeks, because these are teams coming to your place that you should at least be right there with, if not. I mean, the Saints are favored on Sunday, against the Giants, and I don't know if they will be against the Patriots, but it'll be close. You got to show something. You got to start winning some games and finishing these things. So, good time to do it. We went through the whole roster there, so hopefully you stuck with us through that. Our producer today was Norman Bell. He's Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, Matthew Paris. I'm Zach Ewing. We will see you Friday for the next Saints Insider.